Hello, everyone, and welcome to the September 26th Product Analytics Group Sync. Given the small number of attendees or the intimacy of the meeting, I think we're going to just go through and do a quick kind of sync stand-up, and then in lieu of the build board, and then we'll just kind of go from there. So I'm happy to start. So I was just clearing an issue with y'all remember the bad message in Kafka backing things up. That happens again. Vector doesn't really get stuck on, so the previous problem was that ClickHouse didn't know how to handle it because it had a Kafka engine and then was pulling the message and then trying to insert it. It's happening the other way around where Vector is trying to insert it into ClickHouse, but it's having an issue with one of the values, and then that got backed up. And though the current setup is that there's an enriched events topic, which all of the enriched events go into. And that's partitioned into three ways. The idea is that we have three Kafka brokers. The idea is that we split the work so that the three vector aggregators can then, you can only have, the quick Kafka architecture overview is that you can only have one consumer of a partition of topics. So the way that you parallelize that work is that you split up a given topic into n number of partitions, and then you would have n number of consumers, which in this case are vector aggregators, to actually consume each topic. But for some reason, I'm still investigating this. They all, one got stuck, and then I think the other aggregators tried to help out, and they all got stuck, and then basically stopped consuming altogether. I'd like to know if we can kind of keep them specifically assigned to each partition. But basically things got backed up, messages got queued up in the hundreds of thousands. And basically if nothing had happened, Kafka would eventually run out of disk space, events stop coming in, Kafka crashes, we lose all those events. Right now, not the biggest deal, but definitely want to be able to handle it. And so that's what I was focused on. The good news is that despite having a backup of, I think, 1.3 million events. As soon as I was able to, I was able to grab the bad messages. I'm going to dig into that later, clear them out of the queue, and then restart the vector aggregators. And it was able to clear it out in the span of a couple minutes. So the good thing is that the vector agents have enough horsepower in them to clear things out when things get backed up. So that's nice. That's a new learning. But bad news is why is Vector needs to be able to say, hey, I've tried this enough times and we need to just get rid of it or do something better with that. So that problem is still with us, but hopefully we can kind of dig into that. Anyways, that was a really long way of saying that's what I was working on. And at the same time, a bunch of other things like documenting. I called out last week a bunch of infrastructure topics that I think we need to look at in terms of really getting us to beta. I know a few of us have signed up to be hey, I'd like to help out. All great there, but I want to make sure that the context is set so that we have clear, defined outcomes before we throw people on that. So that's my next focus. And then after that, I've been gathering key metrics. So as you'll see in the agenda, Max is working with someone on the reliability team, or more specifically observability. I'm just trying to refrain from using that team name because we have an observability team on our side, but to set up logging and monitoring. And so that's just getting the metrics over from the services over there. But I want to come up with the key metrics of things we need to actually pay attention to each service so that we can actually use those metrics to actually pay attention to what we need to and set up a learning metrics based on that. So that was a really long stand-up update. That's what I've been focusing on. Who wants to go next?
I'll go next because I don't have anything assigned to me on the board. So I've been working on getting ahead a little bit on 16.6 planning, which is really just in time. I see some data flowing through thanks to Basti on our Sitemap dashboard again, which is great, and it backfilled a bunch of the data as well. So last week we hit a high on users viewing dashboards, which is exciting. So I'll share that in Slack channel for wider distribution. And like I mentioned before the recording started, getting together some content, some things that we've created, some things we haven't created for internal reviews, getting ready for GA. I know we're not yet to beta, but trying to get ahead of that for all the internal approvals and all of the various work streams and fulfillment and revenue and all of those places that will need to take place as we consider pricing and packaging. So that's what I've been working on. I think Elwin, back or over to you, not back to you.
Cool. The things that I've got on the go, I've got this dark mode in charts issue that's been merged now. I'm just waiting on a new version of GitLab UI to flow through to the application to do some verification on that. So that's nice. We can actually read our legends now. We've got the error state in the new visualizations drawer. So if the visualizations fail to load, that drawer now displays an actual nice message. That one's just in maintainer review. And then I've got this other bug, which I haven't got very far with. I'm still trying to figure out what to actually do when you've got a whole big block of legends that are actually bigger than the dashboard panel they're inside of. There isn't really a nice way to handle that, but I've just been trying to figure out what a nice solution might look like. And then a couple of things that aren't on the board, the last two updates of GridStack and Cube.js have not been super straightforward. They've caused issues, so I've just been going through and resolving those. They're mostly there now, though. Just waiting on more approval on each. Yeah, that's me.
For those things on the board, do we have issues for them, or do we need to create issues for them, or?
We do have issues for them. I think Renovate Bot just doesn't tag them, however.
Got it.
Quite right, yeah.
Cool.
I can have a look and see what would be involved in getting it on the board.
I think the main two things are just making sure it's assigned to the active milestone, and then having a workflow label. I think those are the main things that prevent it from showing up.
It has neither of those things.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah.
Just make sure it has our group label too.
Cool.
Cool. James, what do you think about, so that was interesting about, like, we have an uptick in usage. I have a sneaking suspicion that it has a lot to do with the GitLab .com instrumentation being live in the dashboard. One thing for the team to be aware of as well, like in Ellen, since you're here as well, like we definitely want to start focusing on better supporting custom events. And I think what'd be really interesting is if we can dog food that. I know we have a size dashboard, but like I wonder, like we're still in the process of making sure one, the events all come in correctly so that the number starts to match up in terms of total number of events. But I think it'd be really interesting if we were the first to create our custom dashboard to say like what's interesting to us and saying like, okay, to compare numbers, but also just to be able to say, hey, like here's what we're looking at as far as usage for .com. And we can start to see within product analytics, we're gonna get real meta here, but being able to see like who are our top users for product analytics, for example. So
100%. Yeah.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely where we want to go. Max, or not Max. Sorry, Rob and I started talking about that a little bit yesterday. And trying to figure out in a little bit this morning of what does the solution space look like for this self-describing events and how are we going to query those? So all of the description about it is buried in the JSON. Could get to be a very expensive query. So he was going to brainstorm some solutions there that we should for feasibility and stuff. But yeah, being able to, because those events are already internal events, they should be routing over into product analytics somewhere. And we just need to be able to describe them and then query them back out so we can look at them in a chart. So how many people are looking at a dashboard might need a little bit of work, a little bit of a code change, but should be a great first candidate for that. And if that was it, like that'd still be a great inception kind of a moment of here's product analytics. The chart you're looking at is how many people look at product analytics, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because we lost that flexibility moving to Snowplow. I don't know if there's like, with self-describing events, I don't know. And to be fair, I haven't looked at the schema for a while, but I don't know if we already have a de facto like custom event key and value that we already extract. But at least going by that convention, we can say, hey, if you're tracking a custom event, you at least have something already extracted out of the schema so that it is faster to query. Because definitely being able, like having to query a JSON blob in a string is going to be, that's not going to work. Like we're already having to investigate query performance with like doing full scans right now, which is causing, it's good to know the ClickHouse cluster can scale that high, but it's definitely not efficient use of our credits there. But yeah, we want to figure out what's a good balance between here's what you can collect whatever you want, but querying it may have some limits. But then if you want to really collect certain pieces of information, you have to use these fields, which will be extracted. And yeah, so, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what we can do with custom events and starting to show what we can do with custom dashboards and getting people excited about that.
And for purposes of during beta and leading up to GA, a boring solution of here's how you create a custom event, we've predefined it for you.
Yeah,
is probably fine.
Mm-hmm.
Because it gets you something. I think that for the use cases we've heard of, like our own, and for Lee's, and for getting to see custom click events, like that's a great first step, I think. So
Yeah.
you could start to use Visualization Designer as is for a lot of those things.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's just going to be like a step, like, because we don't have the flexibility of schema, we just have to make sure like we have a good balance of like, we have three, let's say, for example, 3 fields where it's like, here's your event type, click or whatever you want to call that event. And then here's the key and the value for that. I think that's a good first start to say, here's what you can expect reliably to be extracted out so that you can query that with a greater time range or fewer limits than if you were to query a JSON blob. And then we just kind of go from there. And then as long as we document that, it's like, well, if you work within those quote unquote constraints, then you should be able to reliably report on any custom events you want to track. So yeah, cool.
I'm
Nice.
going to add to the agenda the Rob's issue for that of adding support for unstructured event querying. So
Awesome.
I'm going to take a look at it.
Definitely. I think that's something we'll start to really focus on the next couple of milestones. Cool. Anything anyone else would like to talk about?
I did notice today while I was doing a demo with a customer, which I'm going to try to share that recording later, that the drawer in the dashboard designer now is nice and separated, shows the different types, super slick, super impressed with that. So thanks to the team for continuing to iterate there and get through those issues. The experience is so much better than it was before. Great work.
Yeah. Hopefully we can give it the same treatment for the visualization designer. It'll be nice to have a full end-to-end UI flow for that.
Yeah.
Kind of start flexing that. But yeah, it's coming along. Awesome. Cool. Well, keep it short and sweet. Get everyone back 15 minutes. It's good to see everyone. Otherwise, yeah, if there's nothing else, have a good rest of your Tuesday or beginning of your Wednesday. And catch y'all in the next meeting.
Cheers.
All right.
See ya.
Bye.